Hello, my name is Erin Ruggieri, and welcome to the BCIT Medical Radiography info session. So glad that you guys could join us tonight. I just wanted to start by introducing some of the people we've got here from BCIT. We've got Denise Polzer. She'll be speaking to the first part of our presentation tonight. She's our program head. We've got Suki Platson. She is our program advisor. She'll be speaking to some information about admissions and applications. And we've got Kathy on the line as well, and she will be monitoring some of the chat and joining us along to see if she can answer some of your questions. And with that, if you could please post any questions you have during the session in the chat. Some of those we might be able to answer as we go along. Others we'll leave for the end for our Q&A section. But we please ask you to stay on mute just to limit any interference, and anything that you want to ask, just type it into that chat window. As you saw, this video is this info session is being recorded. So after this info session, about a week or so from now, all of you will receive an email to the email address you used to register for the session with a copy of this recording and a copy of the slide deck. So if you do happen to miss anything tonight, don't worry about it too much. You'll be able to rewatch and review it later on. And with that, I'm going to go to our land acknowledgement. And I just want to share that the British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. And I know that we're all coming from possibly different territories tonight, since we're on Zoom and maybe at home or at our workplaces. I myself am coming from the Coquitlam territories. So our agenda this evening, this is only about a 45-minute info session, so we're not going to keep you for too long, but we are going to give you a lot of information in that time. So we're starting with our welcome and introductions. Obviously, what I'm doing right now. I'm going to do a little poll question for everybody. Then we'll have a presentation and program overview. Program advising will speak, and then we'll finish it up with a Q&A and give you some contact emails for if you need more information as we go along. Okay, so I'm going to run that poll now. True or false question. A doctor only orders an x-ray to see if a patient has a broken bone. So if everyone wants to take a minute and just click which one they think is correct there. And Denise, what do you think of those results?
Wow. Pretty impressive. And you're right. So a doctor just does not order an x-ray for a broken bone. There's many reasons why they would be ordering them. We just don't do them just to look at bones or just to look at the chest or the abdomen. There's multiple reasons that we could, chest x-ray an x-ray can be ordered. So, and I will show you some of those examples through the presentation.
Okay. Now, I think we're going to watch our medical radiography video first.
What I love about medical radiation is the variety. It is different every day, and that's what makes it so exciting.
And we'll go from there, okay? All
right. As a medical radiation technologist, we use general X-ray machines. We use a fluoroscopy unit, CT, and mammography. The most rewarding thing about this job is when patients tell you how much they appreciate what you've done. That's why I love my job.
Okay, so if we're going to do in the medical radiography program at BCIT is a 2-year diploma program. You do a term of academics where we teach you the theory of the positioning and the anatomy, we teach you the physics and the equipment, and then the next term you go out to clinical and practice everything that we've taught you. The students practice on equipment at BCIT that they will be able to find at most clinical sites. And the integration of VR is completely unique to BCIT. It helps the students learn the orientation of the anatomy and how it relates to the type of positions that we try and put our patients into. Once our students graduate from our program, they are fully prepared to write the National Certification Exam, the CAMRT, which allows them to work across Canada. The reason I love this profession is because of the changing technology and the time that I am able to spend with patients one-on-one, communicating with them and getting to know them. This is a really rewarding profession.
Okay, now we're back to our main presentation, and I'm going to pass it over to Denise.
Thanks, Erin. So thank you everybody for joining us tonight. I am going to refer to quite a few things that you actually just saw in the video clip. Jella, who did the first part of the video, she actually was one of our grads from our program. And so she did eloquently speak about the profession. So she referred to us as an MRT, so a medical radiation technologist. And basically what we do is we take diagnostic images for radiologists. So a radiologist is a physician that's trained to look at X-rays and all of the images that we produce and create a report back to the ordering physician. And so this report could state that the patient has no pathology, or if there is pathology, then they can also recommend something to help alleviate the pathology, or a treatment plan. So over the last 10 to 15 years, the technology has improved so much for imaging that we can actually get really high quality images with less radiation. So, we do produce ionizing radiation to create our images, but it is safe for the patient and for the technologists working in the field. So when you consider what a technologist should have in skills, we like to say that we like the technology end of it, so technological skills, basically because of the equipment that we work with, but also have empathy or soft skills, so good, strong communication skills, like to work with patients, good interactions with patients and clients. What else can I say? So for our communication skills, we interact quite closely with our patients. Some of our exams can only be 5 minutes long, but some of them take even longer. So we're expected to ensure that our patients are in the correct position, that if they need assistance, either getting into the positions or getting into the X-ray room or onto the table, that we are there to assist them. So during the exams, we are constantly going in and adjusting and adapting for the patient experience, and to ensure that we are getting the good quality images that we're looking for. So the type of X-rays that we take is really based on the type of equipment that we use. So for the most part, we take general X-rays. So if you could just click again. So this is an example of a lateral X-ray, or sorry, a lateral wrist X-ray. And so we have specific equipment that we use just to get this type of image. These images are two-dimensional, but it tends to show broken bones, but we can also see that the lighter area around the bone is the soft tissue in the muscle. So we also look for certain indicators, not just for fractures, but for other soft tissues injuries that could have happened. But there's two types of general radiography that we do. One is computed radiography, and that would use like an imaging plate, and then the other type is digital radiography, so we don't have to use an imaging plate. Literally, you can just expose a detector and the image comes right up onto the computer screen. This next one here, this is computed tomography, or CT, which is becoming more regular for ordering. These procedures tend to take a little bit longer, but again, it's still produced is X-ray tubes, so small X-ray tubes that are inside that little donut shape that you can see there. And what happens is that the patient will actually go into the donut on that table, and then the X-ray tubes spin around and take spiraling images of the patients, so that you can get these more three-dimensional looking images. You can look at the anatomy in relationship to other areas of the anatomy. And so this is another area. And again, it's specific to this piece of equipment. So the next one we have is fluoroscopy. And in this case, this is like taking a video. So it's like live radiation. It's not just a moment in time. You can actually see, and in this case, there's this white liquid inside the large bowel and part of the small bowel, and you can actually see it as it moves in. The other areas that we would use with fluoroscopy is not just the gastrointestinal system, but we also use it in the next two areas, so mobile imaging. And so in this case, the equipment, as I mentioned before, is actually not just stationary. We can actually go to the patient if the patient can't come to us. So in the OR, we can go to the OR and help the surgeon. So if there's an orthopedic surgeon that is fixing a broken bone, so it allows them to see the alignment of the bone. It also allows them to see the plates and the screws that they are using to fix the fracture to keep it in alignment. We go to emergency in the trauma room. So if there is a car accident or somebody has a heart attack, they come into the emergency department and we can actually go to them with our equipment. This piece of equipment here takes the general x-ray, so the two-dimensional x-rays. And what you're seeing here is what's called a portable chest x-ray. So we've actually gone to the department to actually take a chest x-ray on a patient. The other area that we can go when it says forensics is we can go to the morgue. So if I'm going to say a body is brought in to the morgue and they're uncertain as to the reason for this person expiring, then, and if they feel that it's traumatic, then we can go in and actually take x-rays in the morgue so that they can actually see the bones, but also see inside the body. The other area is interventional procedures. So this uses fluoroscopy. So as I mentioned before, but in this case, the procedures are to help in the case of, say, a patient has a tumor or has blood clots, so that we can go in through the groin, one of the major vessels in the groin, and actually put a filter into the aorta or the vena cava, which is one of the major veins in the body, and it should catch the blood clots. In this case, what we're seeing here is the circle of Willis. So it's the blood supply within the brain, at the base of the brain. And when you hear somebody has had an aneurysm or has had a stroke, that would be either a blood clot or the vessel itself rupturing. And so we can actually go in, run a catheter up towards the area, and what you're seeing here is actual x-ray dye run into the area so that you can see all of the vasculature. And then the last one I'm going to mention is mammography. So again, specialized equipment, and you did see a mammography unit in the opening video. And in this case, the equipment is used to compress the breast tissue and take images of the breast. So in this case, they're looking for breast cancer. So in this case, when we saw the CT images, so they were three-dimensional, it looked like a slice along the length of the body. It can also look like a slice through across the body, and you're looking up into the patient from the feet end. We can also, all of that information is stored in a computer, so it's all data. And we can take that data and actually create three-dimensional images that a radiologist or a surgeon can use to plan a procedure. So in this case, this person has a fracture or a break in the bottom corner of their jaw. You can see that the bones don't quite align. And so usually a plastic surgeon would be able to know which direction that they have to realign the bones and the type of device or plates and screws that they would need to actually fix that piece. The other thing this shows is that because the mandible is a solid bone, you just don't usually get a break in one spot, you get a break in another spot, and we're just starting to see a bit of a crack in between the two bottom teeth there. So it gives you a full view of the fracture itself. So hands-on learning. So the program itself is a mixture of, it's an integrated program. So it's a mixture of face-to-face theory and applied learning. and clinical experience. So our program starts in January, not September, and it runs for 24 continuous months, so 6 terms. There are breaks in between the terms, so it's not like you're going for 24 months completely straight with no breaks. So and the first year alternates between academic term and clinical. So we combine, in the academic term, we combined theory with simulation, so that the students can practice like positioning. We teach you the theory behind how to position a patient for a chest x-ray or a wrist x-ray, and then take that theory and apply it in the positioning labs. So now you wouldn't be able to expose one another. You get to practice the positioning on one another, but we have dedicated instructors that work with the students in the labs to provide them with feedback on their positioning. And so once we practice positioning on each other, then we bring in phantoms. And you saw a bit of the phantom. It was called a 3M Kyoto phantom. It was the full body plastic looking structure. So we can expose those phantoms. We also have other phantoms that have real bones inside of them, so we can actually look at joints. So we simulate by practicing on one another, but when we do exposures so that we can get a resulting x-ray, we actually use the phantoms or the mannequins. We also use a lot of VR, so both immersive and desktop VR applications in several of the courses. The program uses a one-of-the-kind virtual reality experience called Be the Beam. And what this allows is for the student to actually experience the x-ray room and the equipment itself. Like, you can't actually see an x-ray being produced, but this VR experience allows you to actually stick your head inside of the x-ray tube or inside of the x-ray beam itself to actually see the cathode, the anode, how the images, how the radiation is produced, and what the actual beam looks like. The other type of VR experiences that we have allow you to position an avatar and take an exposure. So again, now you're using the equipment to align the equipment. You put your avatar in the x-ray beam on the equipment and actually take an exposure, so you can actually see what your positioning looks like on the avatar. And so the software programs that we use are Shaderware. Organo is for the anatomy courses. Scalytics, again, also we have a desktop version, but we also have an immersive VR experience with that. So we just purchased the Vive headgear for VR with all of the controllers, and so we're getting ready to start using those in as part of the labs. And then we also have another desktop version called for anatomy called Complete Anatomy. And students have access to all of this on a platform called Apps Anywhere, and it allows you to use these programs at home. Sometimes you'll be using it just to study, sometimes you're using it to actually complete assignments and homework. We also have for like the anatomy courses and our image analysis courses, we have bone, like models of bones. So the upper arm is called the humerus. And so we have plastic humeri. We also have real bone humeri. And so as you're going through your course work and looking at all the bumps and the articulating surfaces on those bones, you actually get to hold it in your hand. And so when we're talking about like a greater or lesser tuberosity on the humerus, you actually can see it on the bone because you're holding it. But again, we also have the VR version software that you can actually use to look at the bones as well. So we provide our students with as many resources as possible to look at the anatomy and to look at the positioning and actually do exposures. It's a little bit more about the first term or the first year. So the first year of the program is there's 3 terms, and so there's 2 academic terms, the winter term in January and the fall term. And then the summer term is actually your first clinical term. And so we give you a whole bunch of theory and academics and a lot of simulation. And then we put you out into the clinical environment for 13 weeks in the summer to actually practice everything that you've learned. During the second year, it's an all clinical. And so you do 2 general radiography terms where you would do fluoroscopy and go to the OR, do all the traumas. And then the third clinical term, which is actually the summer term, is specific to doing computed tomography, so the CT. So we give you a 6-week rotation over the summer where you would be just in a CT department doing CT scans. So at the end of the second year, once a student graduates, so you now have a diploma in medical radiography, and that will give you access to the Canadian certification exam. So it is a Canadian exam, so it's national, which means that everybody across Canada writes the same exam, and then you could actually work anywhere across Canada. We talk a little bit about clinical. So a good portion of the program is clinical. There's actually 54 weeks of clinical. When you're in the clinical environment, you're working with a clinical instructor. So a clinical instructor is a hospital employee. So they know the department, they know the equipment, they know the hospital, they know the protocols of the radiologists at that hospital because it varies from site to site. And you're also working with certified technologists. So everybody that you're working with is a certified technologist. They've been through our program or a similar program. There are 2 other programs in BC, but there's programs right across Canada. And so you're out there taking all that theory and getting hands-on experience, to apply everything that you've learned. The clinical instructor is your go-to person when you're out in clinical. You work with them, but again, you work with the technologists. They do your schedules, they do all of your assessments, and they're kind of your go-to person in the clinical environment. We do provide extra support for the clinical instructor in the first clinical term because, again, you're out in a new environment and we want to make sure that you have a safe learning experience when you're out there. So we do provide extra support for you. We are a 24/7 profession. And so if there is a hospital that has an emergency department open, then you can guarantee that there's an X-ray tech on staff during that shift. So during your clinical terms, you will be experiencing all of the shifts that we work on. We don't put you on midnights in the first clinical term. We give you a bit of a break, but you are working days, afternoons, and weekends in that first term. And then for the last 2 gen rad terms, we make sure that we add a few of the midnight shifts so you get that experience as well. And nothing like staying up all night and learning how to work during that time. A few more things. So the next clinical slide, Erin, thanks. So during each clinical term, students are provided with academic time to do online courses. And so the online courses that are in the clinical terms are really synced with the clinical environment. So when we talk about pathology, we give you the first pathology course when you're out in clinical. So as you're seeing the, breaks and fractures and that type of stuff, you're actually learning about it in your course. So during that time, you are given 1 academic day. So if you think about a 5-day work week, you're in clinical, working clinical time 4 days a week, and then 1 academic day to do your coursework. And each term varies as to the number of courses that you're taking. And the last clinical term, we actually have a certification prep course. So not a lot of new material in that course, but we prepare you to write the certification exams. The exam itself is a 4-hour exam, and it's 185 multiple choice questions with all the content brought into one exam. So we try and prepare you for that and to try and prepare you to see areas that maybe you're not so strong in this area. So maybe you need to focus a little more of your study time. Each student goes through all of the clinical areas. And so 3 clinical terms, well, actually 4 clinical terms with CT, but you'll go to 3 different clinical hospitals. The expectation is that you have a variety of hospitals. So you'll have a larger trauma center hospital where you'll see those traumas, and then smaller community hospitals where maybe you won't see as many trauma cases, but you will see a variety of other cases that maybe the larger centers don't do. So we make sure that we give you that all around experience so that you're comfortable and it can be in the end competent in all of those environments. In the Lower Mainland, there are 12 clinical sites, but we also place students in the interior and in the Kootenays. And so we have 12 in the Lower Mainland from VGH, UBC area, all the way out to the valley. So Abbotsford is the largest center, but they also rotate their students through Chilliwack. So that would be the farthest east that that we have sites. What else can I tell you about this? So what we try and do is if a student is from the interior, we try and place those students back into the interior, the Kootenays, so that, you know, maybe they're coming to BCIT to actually do their academics, but when they're in clinical, they can be closer to home. We also work with our clinical sites for student accommodation, because the accommodations are usually quite short term. So if you're going to a site where, you know, you don't have a place to stay, then we would work with the department to see what type of accommodations are available. And so currently our program is actually considered one of the priority programs, and I'm sure that everybody is hearing how the workforce shortage out in the healthcare environment. We are one of those areas as well. And so our students, if eligible, are receiving bursaries at this time. So that's a bit of a help when it comes to paying for accommodations. So a few fun facts, most of it I have already touched upon. We are a 24/7 profession. So out of all of the diagnostics, we are probably the only one that actually has somebody on staff 24/7. As the wait lists have grown, I hear that there's more and more movement towards that. But for sure, we are 24/7. The nice thing about that is that means that you end up getting a lot of extra shifts. So lots of shifts to choose from there. We do both diagnostic and interventional. And so what I didn't mention when I spoke about interventional is that we're starting to see more and more cases in this area just due to, you know, not having to take somebody to the OR. So if they can fix something in the interventional suite, you know, that means that they don't have to take somebody up to the OR and, you know, have, you know, open them up, and it decreases their recovery time. So we're starting to see a lot of interventional cases now. Direct patient care. So yes, we are in direct contact with our patients. So we have to be able to communicate with them. We are a tactile profession, so you do need to be comfortable with some hands-on on your patients. And again, we teach you how to do that, and we teach you how to do it with respect and permission. Our graduates can work in both hospitals and private clinics. So where the hospital again might be more 24/7, the private clinics wouldn't be. But the caseloads tend to be high and the same. So you do have that opportunity. And again, we are mobile. So we go to the OR, we go to the trauma, we go to the patient wards, and we go to the morgue. So where do our graduates go? What can they become? So it really depends on your interests. So a graduating technologist will usually start as what we call an entry-level technologist. We make about $32 an hour to start, but depending on the type of shifts that you are on, it could be more. And then as you build seniority and get more experience, then there's multiple positions available, like shift supervisors, site supervisors, and managers. So a shift supervisor might be somebody that on an afternoon shift would be the senior person. And so again, they get paid a little bit more, but they manage what goes on during that time. A site supervisor or manager would be somebody that would actually manage multiple imaging departments. So not just X-ray, but X-ray, CT, MRI, ultrasound. So that would be, again, a step up. Clinical informatics and PACS administrators. So if you're interested more in the technology end of things, then you can actually step into this within the hospitals, and they manage a PACS system is a picture archiving computer system. And so when we take an image, and again, it's digital, we would then save it to the PACS system. And so this type of position, you would be managing those images. So if there is an error, or, you know, which does happen, you would be the one managing and fixing it, and working with the radiologists as well. So clinical instructors. So if you're interested in teaching, you can actually teach in the hospital. You could teach the students coming out from our program. And actually, I was a clinical instructor for about 9 years prior to coming to BCIT. So it was really good. It was the best of both worlds. I got to teach the students clinically, but I still was able to work as a technologist as well. Or you can become an instructor at BCIT. So we're always looking for good qualified instructors. Or the next step up, which would be outside of the direct hospital, would be an imaging director. So in that case, these positions are in charge of multiple sites, like imaging departments, but in multiple hospitals. And we also have many that have gone on to become product specialists. And so some of the main manufacturers are Philips, GE, Siemens, and Canon Imaging. So if you're interested in selling the product or the equipment, and then teaching the applications to the technologists, that's possible as well. And I think that would be it for me. So I
Yes,
think it's
thank
now
you, Denise.
Suki.
That was a lot of information. So I don't know if everyone was able to kind of absorb everything. But then again, we do have this slide deck coming out to you later on. So I'm going to pass it over to Suki now.
Thank you, Erin. Okay, so I'm just going to go over the admissions section of the program. If you do have any questions about entrance requirements, as we're going through in the chat, anything, you know, program information that we're able to answer, we will definitely do our best. So you can connect with myself or one of our other advisors. I'm going to give you our contact information near the end here. So with the program, it is going to be starting in January 2025. You are able to apply right now. It is a 24-month full-time program. So something you want to be quite, you know, just understanding the workload and all of that. So there is only one take a year in January. There is a two-step admissions process. You have to meet all the entrance requirements. So the minimum being 73% for specific courses. Just make sure you do meet that prior to applying. Qualities to be successful in the program or in the profession. So having strong communication skills, ability to work independently and in a team, excellent physical and mental health and time and stress management skills. Those will come in very handy when you have a pretty strenuous workload at school, as well as obviously with clinical you'll see as well. And then also strong decision-making and problem-solving skills will come in handy. Computer literacy, 3D visualization, manual dexterity, hand coordination skills. There are 2 seats reserved for Indigenous students for this coming intake. And just so you're aware, 1 seat has already been filled. So with the application steps right now, you are able to go to bcit.ca/apply. If you are looking to apply for a future intake, just be mindful this can change. So do always check on the website for the most up-to-date information, up-to-date application process. We are slowly moving to a different platform, Education Planner, but for January 2025, please do go to bcit.ca/apply to put forth your application. With the applications being open right now, you can start working on the application and filling out as much as you can and just complete that at your own pace. It won't go to the admissions office until you've actually paid the application fee of $90. So that is something just to keep in mind. You can start working on it, take a look at it, review it, assess it, and just basically continue working on it until you've got it complete. And then once you hit that submit button, pay the application fee, that's when it will go and move to the next step, okay? So first, do review the entrance requirements. Again, make sure that you meet all of them. If you're unsure, connect with program advising and we can help you on how to meet them. There could be assessment tests or courses that you can do. So that's just something to keep in mind. We offer upgrading courses as well as competency tests. Sorry about that. So again, $90, and then you are going to have to convert all of your documents to PDF files. So you don't want to mail anything into BCIT. If you have a transcript, as well as your mandatory applicant questionnaire, your physical and program requirements form, you're going to scan and attach them, save them on your desktop if you're not ready to apply yet. But once you are ready to apply, just convert them to PDFs prior to uploading them to your application, okay? All right, for the entrance requirements, so just make sure you do have, again, the minimum requirements met. So English 12 was 73%, pre-calculus 12 was 73, anatomy and physiology 12 was 73, and physics 12 was 73%. You can use high school or post-secondary courses, and you can mix and match too. So you could use English from high school and the rest from post-secondary if you prefer, as long as you meet that required grade. Your mandatory applicant questionnaire is basically your opportunity to highlight any non-academic experience that you might have that's going to strengthen your application, as well as highlight your skills and abilities. So do your best on this, provide as much detail indicating why you're a good candidate for this program. A volunteer validation letter outlining a minimum of 30 hours of volunteer work in a patient-related environment is going to be required later on in the second step of the admissions process, but it is something you want to start chipping away at those volunteer hours because it can be a little bit difficult to get them all, you know, closer to that date when they're due, and just to show your commitment to helping people and to be a part of the community. There's lots of information on the entrance requirements page regarding what type of volunteer experience is acceptable. So at an extended care facility, a seniors facility, that's always wonderful. And they're always more than happy to have people come in and help them out. If you go in and read to the individuals there, play games with them, spend time one-on-one with those individuals, that's always well received. So there's lots of facilities like that around each city. But you can always connect with us as well if you have any questions. So for the admissions process, you are going to apply online. It does take about 2 to 4 weeks for admissions to look at your application and assess it. And then after that point, if you have all your required documents, you meet all the minimum grades, only then will that application be sent to the department. So just be mindful of that. If your application is incomplete, you're missing documents, it won't move forward to the next step. Okay, so just always try to provide as much information, provide as much of a complete application as you can so that it can go through to the department sooner than later. Then the department will review the applications, and if you are offered a seat, the admissions office will send you an acceptance letter. So if you are looking at continuing on with your education, you do have some opportunities available at BCIT, but also at other institutions as well. So these are just some of the options. You can do the MRI Advanced Certificate or a Bachelor of Health Sciences at BCIT, which can be done through distance for some programs. So if you want to continue working as an X-ray tech and complete your studies online, that would be an option. We also have a Bachelor of Health Sciences, Thompson Rivers University has a Bachelor of Health Sciences that you could transfer your credits to. There is a Health Leadership Advanced Certificate that BCIT offers, and a Bachelor of Technology and Technology Management, to name a few. And there would be other opportunities as well that are up and coming. All right, for your success. So there's lots of different ways to basically be successful within BCIT. The programs are quite rigorous, as you may have noticed from the program matrix, which lists all the courses that you take. Most programs are like this, but just know there are services and departments available that can offer you assistance and kind of ease that load a bit. So we do have our Indigenous services available. If you are looking to speak to an elder, go to our gathering place there. if you want to find out about funding, or if you have any other questions, or just want to come and sit and chat with somebody. It's a really warm and inviting place. Everyone is always welcome. So please do check out the Indigenous Services on campus in Burnaby. We have lots of awards, scholarships, and bursaries. So financial aid and awards is a great place to connect, to find out about all the different financial aid available. There could be some specific funding for this program, and sometimes they just need an application. Other times they may need more, like volunteer experience, etc., which you would have for this program. So really great way to kind of get some extra funding, because obviously with tuition fees and books and everything, it can add up. We are also committed to providing assistance to students with permanent or temporary disabilities. So if you have been accepted to a program and you believe you might need some accommodations, you can contact our Accessibility Services Department to find out what services they can offer. So if it's extra time for tests or something along those lines, do please speak to Accessibility Services to find out what kind of assistance they can provide. Also at the Burnaby campus, we have our health services. So there's a doctor on site. If you have any problems, or if you want to come in and chat with somebody, get something looked at, they have phone as well as virtual appointments. We do have counseling and student development office as well. So it can be a little bit tough when you're managing, trying to have like a work-life balance. School can be stressful if you're doing other things within your life. Maybe you are working a part-time job, or family stuff arises, or health issues or something like that, and you want to chat with somebody. The counseling office is wonderful. They also do phone and virtual appointments as well, and they offer in-person appointments at the Burnaby campus. And then speaking of work-life balance, we do encourage you to get out to get some exercise and work out, or just go join any of our intramural sports or other activities. So there's lots of people that might have similar interests as you. So we have different soccer groups and badminton groups and things like that. And then we have a full-fledged gym with lots of great equipment. There's fitness classes. Some are online, and then lots in person as well for you to take part in and just basically focus on your well-being. And then lastly, if you do have any questions, please do connect with Program Advising. We offer lots of options to connect with us. You can email us, obviously, 24 hours a day. We're offering right now 3 different days of Zoom, and then 1 day in person at the Burnaby campus. And then if you really want to chat with somebody over the phone, we could always do a call back as well. So if you have questions again about entrance requirements, or maybe the applicant questionnaire or volunteer hours, or anything in regards to this program, or another one, if you're considering applying to multiple, you can only apply to one program, but if you're considering, just trying to figure out which one is the best one for you, you can always connect with us, and we'd be happy to help you out. So do please connect with us, and we can assist you further. Thanks, Erin. Back to you.
Great, thank you, Suki. So I just wanted to add on, I know we're kind of hitting our time here, but I wanted to add on that BCIT Health Sciences has a variety of social media platforms that we're on. We're on Facebook and Twitter, well, X, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn. So please do follow us. We post a lot of stories about kind of what's going on in the School of Health Sciences, what students are doing in their different programs. It's a great way to kind of connect and see what's going on. There's other ways to learn more at BCIT. We have campus tours. We have a spend a day program where you can shadow an existing student. We have our big info that we had 2 weeks ago. We have them again in October. Info sessions like this. There's a lot more health sciences info sessions happening this week. This isn't our only one. So if you're interested in other programs as well, please do check them out. And of course, as Suki mentioned, talking with Program Advising. So we're going to do a very quick round of questions and answers here, because again, we've kind of gone close to our time. I'm going to start actually from the end. Laura, you asked if BCIT only allows applications to one program at a time. Yes, unfortunately, at this time, we can only accept applications to one program at a time. A few of us internally would like to see if we can get some software going that we can change that, but at the moment BCIT is locked in an old pattern, and we only allow one application at a time. However, if you apply to a program and don't get accepted and the application for the other program is still open, you could always transfer them over. Trevor's asking when the application deadline is. This program is open until filled. So we open February 1st, and it will stay open until the program is filled. So there is no hard deadline that I can really tell you about. Denise, was there anything else you wanted to share?
Just that we do have 80 seats, and so we, as Erin just mentioned, that we would go until we fill those seats, but we do also have a wait list that we will be building as well. You know, some students, for whatever reason, end up withdrawing their application, so we would be needing to pull from a wait list. So there is no application end date. There was also a question, I think, regarding volunteer hours, and Suki did mention the types of volunteers that we're looking at. If somebody has other experiences, either through a job in healthcare, or I think somebody was mentioning respite. So it would be a matter of contacting Kathy at medical_radiography at bcit.ca to just, you know, tell us what it is that you're involved in, and then we would be able to provide you with more information as to whether it's acceptable or not. We are looking for specific interactions with clients or patients, or just so that you would know what to expect once you got out into the clinical environment. I think that was the one question I saw that was redirected towards me. And there were quite a few questions about applying if you haven't completed, you know, your upgrades or high school. We would say definitely apply, so that, you know, you would show up as an incomplete, but we would then be able to know that you were in the system and interested. And depending on what happens with our application numbers and our wait lists, by the time you actually finish your upgrading, you may still end up in the program or on a wait list, waiting to get into the program. So.
Great, thank you, Denise. And I think we should mention that waitlist does not carry forward to future terms, though. That waitlist is only for the current term that you're applying for. So that's one thing. I know waitlists at other schools or other departments at BCIT might be different. So just to clear that up. Yes. Unfortunately, I am going to have to cut it off there because we do have a series of info sessions we're running tonight. So I have to run one for a different program right after this. Sorry, Denise. I really appreciate how many great questions have come through tonight. So the email addresses on your screen are going to be very important if we didn't get your question answered. Anything about the program, about the career, please email medical_radiography at BCIT. Anything about your personal transcript, you can contact program_advising BCIT. Again, thank you so much. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Suki. Thank you, Kathy, for answering questions on the line here. And I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Bye now.